Hello, thank you so much for joining me. Today I am doing my January wrap up and my February TBR. If you didn't already know, for February I'm doing 2 readathons. I'm doing the Clueathon and I'm also doing the romance readathon that doesn't quite have like another name. But I'll talk more about those when I get into the TBR. Yeah, for now I'm just gonna do the wrap up.
Yeah, get into it!
The first book that I read was Divergent. I think I actually started this in December, like at the very end of December I started it, and then I'm not sure the exact date that I finished it, but I did like it. I kind of liked it more than I expected, but it wasn't my favourite. I only gave it 3 stars. If you didn't already know, Divergent is a dystopian, which I'm not really that into. Like, I like them when I read them, but I rarely read them. But yeah, it's a dystopian, and it's about this world, this like post-apocalyptic world, Chicago, I think, and it's then set up into 5 factions. Divergent people are the people that don't fit into any of the factions. That's basically it. This is the first book in the trilogy. There's Divergent, Insurgent, and Allegiant. Did enjoy it. Like, it was good to read. So the next book that I read was Insurgent, which is the book after Divergent. I haven't actually finished Insurgent. I read it like straight away after Divergent and I really wasn't enjoying it. Like, I was getting so bored of it and it was slowing down like my overall reading. Because I think if I like started to read Insurgent, I might have read like more books than I did this month. So that's kind of annoying. But yeah, so I haven't DNF'd it, but I've stopped reading it. And I think I will go back to it at some point. I'm about halfway through, or just under halfway through. I'm definitely enjoying this way less than Divergent, because like Divergent I wanted to read what was happening next. Insurgent I don't really care, to be honest. Obviously Divergent ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, so I felt like I definitely had to read it, but yeah, I'm not enjoying it. So the next book that I read was Middle School, The Worst Years of My Life. This one was actually a reread. Because I've had this book since I was in like year 3. Yeah, I was in year 3 because I remember this was the first book that I did a book review on, because it was part of this campaign, because apparently it's really popular over in America but not so popular over here in the UK, so I was part of this campaign to make it more popular, so I had to read it and write a review. And I think I've reread it a couple of times since then. I mainly read this because like I just decided to finish Insurgent, and so I was like, to like boost my reading, I may as well quickly read a book that I'll read quickly. I went with this I don't know what I gave it. I think I gave it 4 stars. The next book that I read was Just William. I think I'd read like the first couple of chapters before. I do enjoy it. I have like a whole set of Just William books here, and this is one of them. And they're the kind of thing that, again, you can just reread whenever you feel down. I do really like the Just William books. They're all so fun to read. Next book that I read, I don't actually have a copy of because I had to read it for school. Landlady by Roald Dahl. It's not really a book, it's more of like a short story, because I think it's in a book of horror stories by Roald Dahl. I don't remember the name of them. But yeah, we've read one of them before in school as well. We read one last year that I don't remember the name of. But yeah. Yeah, it's basically a horror story about this boy, and he goes to Bath for his work, and he ends up staying at this bed and breakfast where there's like this weird landlady. I'm not really gonna say anything else because that would kind of spoil it. But you were reading it and you could kind of see that something was up, something was gonna happen. Yeah, I did like it. It scared me a bit. I'm not the best with horror. Though I think in English we always have to read some kind of horror story, so that's great. Yeah, I did like it. I think I gave it 4 stars. Would recommend, but at the same time, it's a bit scary. The next book that I read, again, I don't have a physical copy of it because I read an arc of it off of NetGalley. But it's the graphic novel Martian Ghost Centaur. It's about this girl, and all her life she's lived in this town, I think, that's like, it's famous because her dads, they found Bigfoot. So then it gets like loads of popularity and it becomes really famous. There's this like big corporation or something that's trying to buy up all of the town because it's getting slightly less popular because people, like, there have been no Bigfoot sightings since years ago, so people aren't visiting it as much. So then the main character, who I don't actually remember the name of, but she goes and tries to find Bigfoot. And she finds out Bigfoot wasn't real and her dad's accident made it up, or like one of them made it up to scare the other one, and they accidentally caught it on camera, and then yeah. And then I'm not really going to say too much else, but she comes up with this scheme to get rid of the corporation and stuff, and it ends really well. I think I gave this, again, don't remember how much I gave it, but I'll put it up here. I think my only criticism of it was that it's kind of, it went really quickly. Like, there was loads of build up to the main event, and then the main event was just like that, and then afterwards the aftermath of the main event, and it was just like, I was reading it and it was just like, whoa, everything just happened really fast. And then the last book that I read in January, I finished reading it last month. It's Paper Towns by John Green. This is the first John Green book that I've ever read, and I really did like it. I think it was a good way to start. I liked all the characters and stuff. I think I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, it's a contemporary, and it starts off with like this road trip with the main character Quentin and his childhood friend Margot, and then Margot ends up going missing afterwards, and so she turns out she's left behind like a bunch of clues for Quentin, and so it's basically them trying to find Margot and find out why maybe she's run away. Good book to read, and I did enjoy it. Okay, so that is my January wrap up, but yeah, now it's time for my February TBR. As I said earlier, I am partaking in 2 readathons that go on like throughout the whole of February. I'm doing the Clueathon and the romance readathon. For the Clueathon, obviously I'm on team Sherlock Holmes because why wouldn't I be? And then the romance readathon, I am on team Mixed Feelings. And so I mainly created my TBR around the romance readathon because a lot of the books that I'm reading for the romance readathon also fit into like the prompts for the Clueathon. So okay, so the first book that I want to read in February is An Enchantment of Ravens. I'm mainly reading this because it's like the book of the month for Hooked on Books, which is kind of like a book club sort of thing. It's a Discord server created by Bookhooked. But it works for the Insta-Love prompt, and I'm not sure yet, but it might work for some of the other prompts on the Clueathon. This book that I plan to read is Children of Virtue and Vengeance. I kind of plan to read this for the enemies to lovers prompt, however I'm not sure if it really counts because there's enemies to lovers in the first book, but I don't know about Children of Virtue and Vengeance. But either way, I plan to read it because it also fits the Clueathon prompt, which it fits the billiard room prompt. Also, it could fit the ballroom prompt because it does have a beautiful cover. So the next book is Princess at Heart, which is the fourth the 4th book in the Rosewood Chronicles series, but it works for the love triangle prompt in the romance readathon, and it also works for a few of the Clueathon prompts, which is Courtyard, which is a book with blue on the cover, Ballroom, a book with a beautiful cover, and also Dining Room, a book that you'll eat up. Next books that I plan to read are the 3 Rosewood Chronicles books that are already out. Obviously I think I'd reread them before Princess at Heart comes out. That works for the reread a book you hold close to your heart, but they also work for the Ballroom prompt, which is a book with a beautiful cover. The next one I'm planning to read is Ironside, which is the 3rd book in the Modern Fairy Tale series. I plan to read this for the interracial relationship prompt, but it also works for Courtyard, which is a book with blue on the cover. The book that I plan to read is One of Us is Lying. Apparently this works for an LGBTQ+ relationship, which is one of the prompts for the romance readathon, and then also the library prompt, which is just free choice. I'll probably do One of Us is Lying for that. So then the next one is City of Bones, in the first one in the Shadowhunters series, which I don't particularly want to read, and so I probably won't end up reading it. But it does work for the childhood friends to lovers prompt, and it also works for the haul prompt, which is read a big book, because I'm not sure where it is, it's not on my bookshelf, it's somewhere in my room, but it's quite big. So that is my January wrap up and my February TBR. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe. Also, I plan to do more reading vlogs for this month. There are a couple of books that I mentioned on my TBR that I plan to do reading vlogs for and stuff, so yeah, make sure to check those out. Also comment some of the books that you've read maybe in January, or some books that you still need to read in February. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye.
She calls me day and night. I'm sorry, girl, you just